It's Tuesday, March 10th, 2026, and it's time to dive into this swamp. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for daily updates you probably won't find in the mainstream. If you drop a comment below, I may read it during tomorrow's episode. And every article I come across in this video is linked down below in the description. And highlight clips from tonight's episode will start dropping on the channel tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. So we're going to start right here with Nick Sordor. Just in, John Thune reveals the White House sent Democrats an offer to reopen the Department of Homeland Security 12 days ago, and Democrats just never responded. They just never got around to it. Even they probably made him an offer they couldn't refuse, but they said, you know what, we're just not going to do it because we just like watching the Department of Homeland Security just suffer. Suffer and see the Republicans, suffer and see the American citizens while you go on your spring break and TSA is backed up for 5 straight hours. Anyway, they're playing you like a harp. Leader John Thune, play hardball, enforce the talking filibuster, reopen DHS, and pass the Save America Act.
Shamefully, the Democrats have put us into another government shutdown. This is day 25 of the shutdown.
Shutdown number 3.
Department of Homeland Security. We have tried repeatedly to engage them on a path forward. The White House has attempted to do that. By the way, the White House submitted their last offer to the Democrats 12 days ago. 12 days ago, no response. And so, here we are with important agencies of government that have vital national security and homeland security roles, people not getting paid. You're starting to see the lines at the airports because TSA employees aren't getting paid. Obviously, cybersecurity falls under the jurisdiction of the Department of Homeland Security.
Of course it does.
Border security. You can go right down the list. FEMA, these are agencies that have a profound
U.S. Secret Service,
on the safety
U.S.
and security
Coast
of the
Guard,
American people. And the
DHS.
Democrats have opted to, in the most cynical way, play politics. I mean, how much more cynical can you get than to play politics with,
they don't want us rounding up illegal immigrants.
Homeland Security.
It's just that simple.
But that seems to be where they are. Obviously, we're going to do everything we can to continue to make the case that we need to get DHS opened up. In fact, Senator Britt last week offered a couple different times unanimous consent requests to fund that department and those agencies and to allow additional time for discussion with the Democrats so we could at least get into the negotiation. And they
there's no discussing with them.
So every attempt that we have made
to
sit down and try and get this Department of Homeland Security appropriations bill across the finish line has been rebuffed by the Democrats with prejudice. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how you can sustain that position or defend that position in light of everything that's going on in the world and the dangerous situation the United States finds itself in.
Look, this is definitely a pressing issue. It's something that needs to be solved as soon as humanly possible from the Democrat side, because the Republicans are not asking for anything crazy. They're just simply asking for the Department of Homeland Security to be funded, and Democrats don't want it funded because we're rounding up illegal immigrants. And they're pissed off that ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is funded for at least the next 3 years. I believe it's 3 years. And they're just throwing a big giant temper tantrum, and they want everybody else to suffer because they want to make everything all political. So, and John Thune, there's calls for him to be removed as leader of the Senate. That's who this guy is. He's Senate Leader John Thune, Republican, of course, because he is essentially refusing to bring the SAVE Act to the floor for a vote. Of course, it wouldn't get passed if it was a straight up vote. That's why they're talking about bringing it up for a talking filibuster. Essentially, as far as my understanding goes, that senators would just stand at the podium and just argue for hours and hours and hours on end, and whichever party caves first, then it shall pass, I guess. I mean, at least that's my interpretation of it. Okay, so let's move on to Secretary Sean Duffy. If you're waiting in a long line at the airport, because look, a lot of people are going on spring break. Maybe somebody listening to this right now might be going on spring break. And if you happen to find yourself in the airport waiting for 4, 5, 6 hours, you might as well do something while you're standing there. You can contact Senator Chuck Schumer's office and demand that the DHS is funded, and you can call him at 202-224-6542. I contemplated playing it, whatever the machine is going to be, because you're going to get a machine. You're not going to get somebody who's going to answer, because I'm sure they've been getting inundated with calls, even though they're supposed to listen to all of the calls that they receive, all the voicemails that they receive, especially if you live in the state of New York, because you are a constituent, a direct constituent of Chuck Schumer. And I have a feeling that if you listen to that message, it's probably going to say, the Republicans shut down DHS. It's all their fault. We had nothing to do with it. They won't come to the table. They won't negotiate because they're Trump's Gestapo. All right. So anyway, he says it's outrageous that Chuck Schumer and Democrats are playing politics at the expense of Americans. TSA agents need to be paid for the hard work they do to keep us safe while traveling. All right, let's hear this from Fox
Now
Business.
more than ever, we need to fund the Department of Homeland Security. And when you talk about the TSA agents, I live this, and you and I talked about it with our air traffic controllers in the last Democrat shutdown. But the fact that you have TSA agents, they don't make a lot of money, Stuart. They can't go without, multiple paychecks and think they can pay their mortgage, pay their rent, put food on the table. And so they make different choices to just care for their families. It's unacceptable. Chuck Schumer has to get off the political bandwagon and start being on the American bandwagon and
quit
funding the Department of Homeland Security. It's outrageous.
Quit putting party before country.
Everyone who stands in that line,
quit putting illegals before Americans.
Call or email Chuck Schumer's office. Now more than ever, we need to fund the...
All right. So we got that, and of course that was Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary with the Department of Transportation, and we have this from Chuck Grassley. He's over 90 years old at this point, isn't he? I'm pretty sure he's still sharp-minded. I'm sure he's still all there, unlike Mitch McConnell, who's just constantly falling down all over himself. All right, so he says, because of Democrats' shutdown, 56,000 Coast Guard personnel are at risk of missing paychecks. Dude, they're probably already missing their paychecks. It's been, 25 days at this point? The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency has to limit its operations. You know what? That just suddenly reminded me, when we did the first government shutdown, or when the Democrats implemented it, we had to suffer through it for 43 days. I actually had a countdown. I had a counter, not a countdown. I had a counter up here on the top right corner of the screen. I think I might actually do that again. I completely forgot about that, actually. So he finishes up by saying 95% of TSA employees are working without pay. This has led to long security lines and flight disruptions nationwide. And interestingly, he got ratioed. I'm not sure why he got ratioed. Maybe he passed the SAVE Act. Oh, of course it is. It's all SAVE Act. I'm sure that pretty much every Republican senator at this point is probably getting ratioed because they're demanding the SAVE Act. I'm assuming that Chuck Grassley is not on board with passing the SAVE Act. Just call me crazy. Maybe if it came to the floor for a vote, he probably would vote for it. I have a feeling that he's probably against the talking filibuster, which is absolutely insane. Everybody is demanding it to the point where they're getting ratioed over something that everybody already agrees on. That TSA and the Coast Guard and the Department of Homeland Security, they're not getting checks. Over 100,000 employees not getting paid. And they're still getting ratioed because everybody's demanding the SAVE Act get passed. But of course, they don't want to mess around with it. Homeland Security, our hardworking TSA officers are again being forced by the Democrats to work without pay for the third time in nearly 6 months. The longer the shutdown drags on, the more financial hardship our patriotic officers and their families face, leading to more staffing issues and longer wait times for travelers. It's time for Democrats to end these political games, pay our TSA officers, and reopen DHS.
It's going to get a lot worse.
Kim Parzak is with Boutique Travel Advisors. She says
I think the Democrats are just sadists. I think they get off on this.
On the heels of
on
the
suffering.
Government
I think they enjoy it.
fall.
We got over 60,000 TSA workers.
They're behind closed doors with each other.
Workers for the airlines, and they've got to pay the bills, and so they're calling in sick, and they're.
I mean, it's bullshit though, man. Freaking spring break,
DoorDash
5 hours in
and
line.
Making money to pay the rent because they've got kids.
Sky Harbor saw short lines at security today, but that's not the case for airports across the country. Our partners with CBS News reported lines up to 5 hours in Houston and 3 hours
I didn't pull that
in
number
New
out of my
Orleans.
ass.
Parzak says if you have flights anytime this month,
fucking parking
check
garage.
all the airports ahead of time and expect
Security
delays.
extend it back out to the parking
One of the main
garage.
things I tell people is
Unreal.
remain flexible or you will break, just like a pencil. Map out the actual logistics of getting to the airport because
I mean, dude, you might as well drive.
You're gonna need,
gonna be that
they're
bad.
expecting up to 5 hours in some cases,
5
depending on the
hours.
airport.
I'm telling you, man, if you have a Democrat who's representing you, you got to find their phone number and call them. You might as well just call them over and over. Look, if they're going to make you stand in a line for 5 hours, the least that you could do for them in return is just to call them over and over again for 5 straight hours. Just leave them email after email after email. Spend the 5 hours just reaching out to your member of Congress or your senator, if either one of them is a Democrat. And look, if you don't have a Democrat representing you, then whoever your Republican representative is, unless they're diehard Save America Act, which a lot of them are, to be fair, but if they're not, especially if you've got like the likes of John Thune that's representing you, blow up his email. I mean, not literally, don't take that literally. Anyway, send him a whole bunch of emails. Just email. Phone calls. I think phone calls are probably more effective than emails, but they're technically supposed to read all the emails, especially if they represent you, their constituent. Okay, Homeland Security, save spring break. It is time for Democrats to end the DHS shutdown so our TSA officers can get paid and millions of Americans do not miss their spring break flights. All right, so we've got this
If
video from Homeland
major
Security.
Airports for spring break, you got to listen to this.
TSA agents are now working without pay while Congress remains at a stalemate.
Because of a lack of funding for TSA, Democrats shooting down DHS spending bills.
They say it could take you at least 2 hours to go through these TSA lines. And in a new update, 37 minutes Atlanta.
Now if you wanna go and get away from it all. Go down the
All right. Probably some more copyright. Save spring break. We get it. Man, saving spring break. Everybody's heading to... Where's everybody going on spring break these days? Panama City? I mean, that's where everybody went to back when I was in high school, like freaking 20 years ago. Actually, longer than 20 years ago. Almost 25, not quite, but not far from it. Yeah. I know a lot of people come down to where I live in my neck of the woods. I live in the St. Pete area, St. Pete Beach, Clearwater Beach. A lot of people show up. So I'm probably not going to be heading to the beach probably for the rest of the month because it gets too crazy crowded. Even though I know all of the free parking secrets. I know where to find free parking. Maybe even during spring break. I bet I do. All right, so let's head on to the next Senator Cynthia Loomis. As Democrats hold FEMA funding hostage, Wyoming's wildfire season already started, leaving Wyoming without an in-state coordinator to respond quickly during disasters. Families and businesses in Wright are preparing for the worst, while Democrats play political games. Fund at DHS now. Yeah, see, it's not just TSA. And we also had a bunch of tornadoes that swept through areas of the country yesterday, and some of them were hit pretty hard. But without any FEMA funding, I'm not so sure that they're even going to be able to show up to help them if they need help from FEMA. Gillette, Wyoming, a wildfire is burning on the west side of the town of Wright, according to the Campbell County Fire Department. The fire is burning on both the north and south sides of Wyoming Highway 387. Fire crews are on scene and more resources are being gathered and sent to the area. Officials have issued a SET or SET status for the town of Wright and nearby areas. This also includes areas east of Costner Road and south of Wyoming 387 and Wyoming 59. A SET status means people should be ready to leave if an evacuation is ordered. Just absolutely crazy. Rapid response. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to the 100,000 DHS employees out there who are struggling without a paycheck, to any American out there who is showing up to an airport and facing incredibly long wait times, call your Democrat member of Congress and tell them to fund DHS. That's exactly what you should be doing,
President Trump
especially if you're in line.
wants the Department of Homeland Security. He wants TSA, he wants FEMA, he wants the brave men and women of our United States Coast Guard to receive their paychecks, and he wants
don't forget
this department
cybersecurity.
to be fully funded and fully reopened.
Definitely need those guys.
And so to any American out there who is struggling without a paycheck, we know there's more than 100,000 of you across the country. To any American out there who is showing up to an airport and facing incredibly long wait times and lines, call your Democrat member of Congress and tell them to fund the Department of Homeland Security. That's what President Trump wants to do, and it's completely ridiculous that the American people are suffering as a result of these partisan games that are being played by Democrats on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. You know what? I wonder if we could find out exactly what the list of demands are that Democrats are demanding as far as ICE goes. Let me see if we can look into that for a quick second. Just a quick hot second here. All right, so let's see what the list of these demands are. Key Democrat demands based on their public lists and statements, including a 10-point proposal from Schumer's and Jeffries in early February of 2026, include the following. They demand judicial warrants to be required before entering private property or making arrests. Targeted enforcement, no warrantless home entries. You see, even that's loaded. We're on the first thing, and that's already loaded. Making arrests. So, in other words, they're not allowed to apprehend any illegal immigrants of any kind without a judicial warrant, even though most of these people already have a final order of removal that's been signed by a judge. But apparently that's just not good enough. No, they also need a judicial warrant on top of that. A ban on masks and face coverings for ICE and CBP agents during operations. Mandatory body cameras for agents. That box has already been checked. Visible identification required. Agents must show ID. Well, what's wrong with just using a 5-digit number? I mean, why do they have to show their first and last name? Because the leftists, they want to dox them. Stricter use of force policies and de-escalation training. Probably already a thing. Into roving patrols, uncoordinated random enforcement. Okay, so that's also some blanket. They could use that for literally anything. That's Yeah, okay. I can't see how that can possibly be any more vague. Prohibition on patrols in sensitive locations, schools, hospitals, house of worship, polling sites. Yeah, that's already a thing. Polling sites is extremely suspicious because illegal immigrants aren't supposed to be voting. At least according to Democrats, they're not voting. So why would they care if Immigration and Customs Enforcement is showing up to polling locations if illegal immigrants aren't voting? Because they are. All right, so independent investigations into violations and accountability measures and verification that individuals are not U.S. citizens before detection. Okay, well, that's not exactly possible when they're trying to apprehend somebody. If you're in the process of apprehending somebody, you know, like some people just don't have ID. Oh, well, okay, so we think you're an illegal immigrant, but you don't have an ID, so, you know, we can't prove whether if you're a citizen or not, so you can just go. Stupid games they play. Coordination with local state police and uniform code of conduct. Well, that's kind of hard to do when you've got sanctuary states with police that refuse to work with federal agents. Why don't you make that a requirement on the state level or on the local level? So in other words, at least half of these, if not virtually all of these, are absolutely insanely unreasonable. They're not going to get to this point where Republicans are going to accept all of this because essentially they wouldn't be allowed to apprehend anybody ever again. As far as ICE goes, you might as well just completely dismantle them, which is exactly what Democrats really want. That's why they want to stack up all of these rules to essentially make them 100% ineffective. And then your $75 billion worth of taxpayer dollars that funded DHS, or no, not DHS, Immigration and Customs Enforcement over the last for the next 3 years, I should say, would just completely go to waste because they would just sit on their hands for the next 3 years and do absolutely nothing. All right, so Gunther Eagleman, Speaker Johnson grows a pair and absolutely destroys Democrats as traitors. Quote, 2 terrorists nearly killed dozens of people with bombs, and DHS is currently shut down thanks to Democrats in Congress. Nuke the filibuster and fund DHS.
And we would be remiss if we did not address the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security right now. Over the weekend, 2 aspiring terrorists that you've seen threw homemade bombs into a crowd of protesters in New York City. I won't even comment on how badly the media has misled the American people with coverage of that story, but let's talk about the reality. The more important point is that 2 terrorists nearly killed dozens of people with bombs, and the agency of the government that is specifically tasked with defending our homeland from exactly those types of threats is currently shut down, thanks to Democrats in Congress. Those bombs never exploded. Thanks be to God, and countless lives were spared.
Yeah, God was watching over.
Allegedly told police after the attack that
thank God those guys sucked at building bombs.
Even bigger than the Boston Marathon bomb. It was an alleged attack, a terror attack in Austin, as you know, 2 weekends ago. A bomb threat at an airport in Kansas City.
I don't know why somebody doesn't go up there and fix the microphone. Obviously not working.
The U.S. is susceptible to lone wolf and sleeper cell terror attacks on our homeland. And again, I'll repeat, all the critical agencies like CISA, the agencies that monitor bio threats and attacks on our critical infrastructure like CBP.
Oh, great. Hear that, Democrats? Bio threats. That's what we're facing, too.
Democrats, as usual, are playing games. They're playing games with people's lives. We got other critical agencies like FEMA and TSA that are unfunded, experiencing significant staff shortages. And that's why travelers around the country have felt already the unfortunate effects. This weekend,
better call your Democrat.
Record wait times. All of that because of the Democrat shutdown.
All of it. Every bit of it. All of it because of the Democrat shutdown. And they are ruining so many people's spring break. Look, if you have to stand in line for 5 hours, it's essentially going to really mess with your day, especially if you show up and you know, you're typically told, there's a lot of people out there that don't follow politics. They just do their thing, and they're going on spring break. They're following the rules. They're not making it an international flight, so they show up 2 hours early, and now they're stuck in line and they miss their flight. I can only imagine how many people are missing their flights right now. All right, from Art Candy, let me get this straight. Republicans have control of Congress. Well, that's also kind of loaded. Yes, they do have the simple majority in the House of Representatives, and they also have a simple majority in the Senate. But of course, in order to pass anything in the Senate, it requires 60 votes, of which Republicans do not have. So they don't really control the Senate in the way that you might think. Democrats introduce a clean bill to fully fund TSA. How clean is it really? I don't know. We'll find out. Republicans block it. Then they blame Democrats for long wait times at airports. This is on them. So let's have a look. I asked Grok, so, it didn't answer it? Oh, come on, Grok, it didn't answer my question. Oh, all right, well, that's a first. It always answers my question. I don't know why it didn't answer it this time. That's okay. Let's just do it the other way. All right, did Democrats introduce a bill to fund TSA with no strings and no outside stipulations attached whatsoever? No, not exactly as phrased. Democrats did introduce and push legislation in the House by Rep. Rosa DeLauro and a similar Senate proposal by Senator Patty Murray to fund TSA, along with FEMA, CISA, Coast Guard, etc., during a partial DHS funding lap shutdown in early 26. However, this was not with no strings and no outside stipulations attached whatsoever. The bills explicitly excluded funding for ICE and CBP and the Office of the Secretary, tying the funding to a condition withholding money from immigration enforcement agencies to pressure for reforms. Warrants, no racial profiling, body cameras, blah, blah, blah. Democrats described it as a clean bill. Well, it's not that clean because it's coming with strings attached for TSA and other non-immigration parts of DHS, but Republicans and critics called it conditional and partial, not truly unrestricted. Republicans blocked these targeted measures, insisting on full DHS funding, including ICE and CBP, without such exclusions. Yeah, because those people need to get paid too. They are federal agents. They are federal employees at the end of the day, especially like with CBP. So what, you expect CBP to just go without paid? Because look, if Republicans agree to this and then they fund those other elements of the Department of Homeland Security, then it's going to go months and months and months. And you're going to make CBP and I guess arguably in some way ICE, even though my understanding is that ICE has been funded for the next couple of years, but maybe just like the everyday employees, the pencil pushers, the bureaucrats inside ICE, maybe they're not getting paid. Not so sure. There's probably some furloughs to some extent. So you're going to expect them to go months and months and months without getting paid at all. Yeah, that's exactly what they want. I'm telling you, man, they're sadists. They're absolutely sadists. All right, so sources from both sides, Senate and House Appropriations, Democrats, ex post from Homeland, Dems, news like Fox and NYT confirmed Democrats offer TSA-focused funding, but with the key stipulation of defunding ICE and CBP components amid disputes over immigration enforcement. No evidence of a truly unrestricted standalone TSA bill with zero conditions, so it ain't clean. If it was clean, it would simply say fund TSA, the end. And that's all it would say. Fund TSA. Just secure the funding for the next foreseeable future, for the next however long it is. How long does it go? Till September or something like that, as far as the funding extension goes. I think it goes up for another vote. It's like every September, I think, which I believe that's what led to the last government shutdown, the last Democrat shutdown. That was back in September. All right, so what else do we got? Well, we got another one from Leader John Thune from Eric Daugherty. Breaking Senate Leader John Thune erupts in rage at Democrats shutting down DHS for 26 days. Okay, so we're on day number 26 now.
Saying they don't even want to sit down and talk.
No, they don't.
Overtures were made yesterday to the
psychopaths.
ranking Democrat
Psychopaths
on
don't
the
like
Senate
talking.
Appropriations Committee. Countless overtures have been made to the Democrat leadership, and they have basically said, sorry, we don't want to talk. So here we are in the 26th day.
Dude, what is there to talk about?
Shutdown,
fund them, that's it. Don't concede bullshit to them.
After they
body cameras, okay? We're good with body cameras.
To the very bill that they
and also concede the whole ID thing. Make them wear a 5-digit ID number on their badge or on their uniform or what have you. No names, just an ID number. That's it. Because you can identify the agent with the ID number, and don't make it some crazy ass like 11-digit number. Just make it quite simple. I think 5 digits is good enough for anybody to memorize.
Now opposing, and are now opposing even sitting down and talking and negotiating on the things they say they want. Explain that one. Mr. President, this is borderline obnoxious. This is indefensible, it is unjustifiable, and there are American people who are going to hurt as a result of this, and those already who work at these agencies, some 120,000 at one agency alone, that aren't going to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
Who perform critical security missions for this country to keep the American.
Well, look, man, like the Republicans, their hands are clean as far as this goes. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they're following the letter of the law. Yes, a couple of controversial things happened. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, 2 Americans were shot and killed. Unfortunately, they were obstructing agents. They were getting in the way. They were there when they shouldn't have been there, so on and so forth. But yet, nevertheless, it happened. That's not good enough to have to completely dismantle the entirety of the Department of Homeland Security, especially when they were obstructing agents from the get-go. One of them struck them with her freaking car, for crying out loud, causing internal bleeding into his abdomen. And I find these just kind of funny when John Thune's standing up here, just like all the other senators, because the room looks dead empty. You don't hear anybody. You don't ever see anybody. It's like they're arguing to an empty room, even though I suppose it's all on the record. Okay, so Derek Evans, just in, travelers lash out at Chuck Schumer as TSA agents risk missing paychecks during the DHS shutdown. Airports are warning passengers to arrive up to 5 hours early amid long security lines.
Check if the shutdown continues.
It goes like all the way outside. It's very long. I'm sure it's gotten way further though.
How long have you guys been waiting in line?
Like for an hour.
No, 40 minutes.
It's kind of moving.
It's moving, but we were
that ain't too
outside
bad.
the parking garage when we started.
Oh, wow.
So officials are warning
All right.
travelers
Well,
to
they
get
were
to
in
the
the parking
airport
garage.
hours
Moving
ahead
quick for
of
them.
their flight. Some airports suggesting to even get there 2 to 5 hours early. As
I don't
many
think I've ever
travelers are
waited in line
scrambling
that
to get
long
to their
for
planes after
a
waiting in
roller
those
coaster ride.
lines.
And I've been on a
We've
ton
seen
of
how
roller
a government
coasters.
shutdown can impact airports recently. There were massive flight disruptions during the last one this past fall. But Airlines for America President Chris Sununu says this shutdown is different.
It's not the planes that are getting delayed. Everything is safe. Everything's working fine on the airline end, but folks literally cannot get into the airport.
Check if the shutdown continues.
It goes
it's
like
probably
all
just
the
going to
way
get worse.
outside. It's very long. I'm sure it's gotten way further though.
How long have you guys been waiting in line?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my bad. I was too focused on something else. All right, so let's move on to Scott Jennings. Another day of the Democrat DHS shutdown dawns on America. We have radical Islamic terrorism, tornadoes, and 5-hour lines at the airport, and yet the irresponsible Democrats continue to keep DHS shut down. Partisanship with deadly consequences. Let's check this out on CNN.
But does anyone here believe that we should keep the Department of Homeland Security, that's the name of it, indefinitely shut down
America,
to try to force
America
ICE
security
policy changes on an agency that's already funded until 2029, when
Already.
you acknowledge there are sleeper cells, when we all see radical Islamic terrorists throwing IEDs in New York City,
Yep,
when we saw a
already
radical
happened.
Muslim terrorist shoot up a bar in Austin, when we had tornadoes in Oklahoma and Michigan this weekend, when we
You
have
darn
TSA
good.
lines of 5
Christina
hours in
also gutted
airports,
FEMA.
we have
And they gutted
all these
FEMA.
things going on.
Tornadoes.
Is it even remotely reasonable to keep it closed?
What I believe.
But does anyone here
Yeah,
believe?
well, okay, whatever. I'm sure whatever it is that you believe, that yada yada, they're Trump's Gestapo, they're the secret police, they're arresting innocent, undocumented American migrants. All right, Speaker Mike Johnson, as terror threats have emerged across the country, the very agency tasked with preventing and responding to those threats remain shut down because Democrats have chosen to protect criminal illegal aliens over hardworking Americans. They put illegals over Americans.
The Democrats'
put
record
party
is
over
as
country.
dangerous as it is shameful. And we would be remiss if we did not address the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security right now. Over the weekend, 2 aspiring terrorists, as you've seen, threw homemade bombs into a crowd of protesters in New York City. I won't even comment on how badly the media has misled the American people with coverage of that story, but let's talk about the reality. The more important point is that 2 terrorists nearly killed dozens of people with bombs, and the agency of the government that is specifically tasked with defending our homeland from exactly those types of threats is currently shut down, thanks to Democrats in Congress. Those bombs never exploded, thanks be to God, and countless lives were spared. But one of the attackers allegedly told police after the attack that he hoped that it would, quote, be even bigger than the Boston Marathon bombing.
We already
It was
saw
an
this, though, right?
alleged attack,
I think we
a
did,
terror
but
attack
we
in
didn't see
Austin,
like the whole
as you
3.5
know, 2
minutes.
weekends ago. A bomb threat at an airport in Kansas City on Sunday. And the Department of Homeland
that
Security
also
is
happened over the
warning that
weekend.
the U.S. is susceptible to lone wolf and sleeper cell terror attacks on our homeland. And again, I'll repeat, all the critical agencies like CISA, the agencies that monitor.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure we already saw that. I'm just going to say that we already saw that. It was posted by a different entity. This is from Speaker Mike Johnson's profile. But just in case that I'm just imagining things, I will repost this. I didn't mean to do that. I'll repost it. There's a direct link to my profile down below in the description if you want to check that out. Rapid response 47, Tampa. TSA agents are not getting paid and many aren't showing up for work so they could take other jobs to pay their bills. Why is this happening? Because radical Democrats refuse to fund DHS. That's shameful.
The partial government shutdown is impacting air travel across the country. As a result of that shutdown, TSA agents are not getting paid and many aren't showing up for work so they can take other jobs to pay their bills. The wait time for the TSA line at Houston Airport was more than 3.5 hours long, with TSA advising passengers to arrive at least 5 hours before their scheduled flight time.
Well, you know what? Frankly, I bet a lot of them are just going to end up quitting because they're going to have to look forward to this bullshit for the next 3 years because they're just going to keep stonewalling and play stupid games, shutting down the government. And I'm assuming TSA, they're just going to get caught in the crosshairs over and over and over again. Come September, probably the same thing's going to happen. They're just going to come up with something, the Democrats, as an excuse to shut it down. All right, so speak of the devil, House Democrats, the Republican DHS shutdown is causing massive delays at airports around the country. Republicans have to stop playing political games. It's time to work with House Democrats to enact common sense reforms to ice and reopen the government. And of course, from CBS News, I can only imagine what they're saying. Let's see. Long security lines at U.S. airports as DHS funding affects TSA staffing. Okay, well, I'm not going to get into the weeds with it because we already understand that, 3 hours here. Louis Armstrong International Airport, New Orleans, 3 hours. Wait times could be up to 2 hours. So they're just going over all the details with just the numbers, what other airports are seeing. House approved a measure to fund DHS through September in a 221 to 209 vote, but a similar bill failed to get the necessary 60 votes in the Senate, managing only 51, which means because Republicans don't have 60 votes, there aren't 60 Republicans in the Senate. That means that the Democrats stopped it. That's what that means, which of course the Democrats, they don't count on anybody to actually read this article. They just count on just people just to nod and drool. Yeah, okay. All right, Senate Republicans, Democrats refuse to even have a conversation about funding TSA. They want to inflict maximum pain on Americans as leverage. Remember that when you're waiting in hours along lines at the airport.
We are now 25 days into a government shutdown with a department that is actually charged with keeping Americans safe. We have seen what's happening across our country. We also know that there is the ability to have increased threats. And the agency, whether it be Coast Guard, TSA, CISA, Secret Service, CBP, and ICE, have gone unfunded. This is reckless and it's disingenuous. Here they are telling you they want to see reforms. But I am here to tell you that they have not come to the table. Despite countless offers to sit down and try to find a pathway forward, they will not even have a conversation with us.
Everything they're asking for is ridiculous.
39 days.
You're not going to give us all 10 of those? No conversation.
And agreed to them to work on this, and they have not sat down one time. Folks, that means that this is all about politics. It was never about people.
Yep, they're using people in long TSA lines as political pawns. They're using the TSA themselves as political pawns, and it's just going to go on and on. Republicans better not cave. They better just wait it out until, just like last time, Democrats have no choice but to just quietly just allow it to pass. Because remember, last time it went 43 days and the Democrats got nothing out of it. Nothing at all. They had to concede because what they're doing is insanity. Senator Ashley Moody, TSA officers at airports are expected to miss paychecks this week, so if you get frustrated at airports, please contact Democrat senators who refuse to fund them.
And this is another example. They're going to shut down funding to the very agency that was charged after 9/11 and set up after 9/11 to protect our homeland and not fund it. I'm going to keep pushing to get that agency funding. I think now more than ever it is incredibly important. And on a more trivial front, people that are frustrated with the airport and standing in line because of this funding issue and the delays, please call a Democratic senator. I urge you to do that and tell them to pass this funding bill.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would contact mine, but I don't have one because I live in the state of Florida, and Ashley Moody is one of my 2 senators. She replaced Marco Rubio when he went on to become the Secretary of State. All right, it's Benny Johnson, Rep. Jayapal, Democrat of Washington. We have been 150% clear. You can't be any possibly more clear than 100% clear, you low IQ bonehead. All right, let's just watch this real quick.
We have been 150% clear. We are not funding
bonehead.
DHS, ICE, and CBP. Not a penny more. Because these are completely lawless agencies. They all have to be dismantled. They are not operating with regard to the rights of people in the United States, whether it's
you mean
US citizens,
illegals?
legal permanent
People have no right
residents,
to be here?
or people who have been here for a long time and committed absolutely no crime.
Yeah, again, illegals who snuck in here years, if not decades ago, and they're hiding and then they eventually get caught. You mean those people? Yeah, of course those people. All right, Rep. Mark Harris. This is Amber Paris. She was struck and killed by an illegal alien who ran a stop sign. She was only 15 years old. Amber is why I support ICE, and that's why I support ICE, and why many of us support ICE, if not most of us, because they are stopping psychos and these criminal illegals from doing what they're doing and getting innocent Americans killed, like this 15-year-old girl. All right, Bernie Morano. Here's a simple question. Is it a crime to enter the country illegally? At least you'd think that's an easy question, but when I asked Joe Biden's senior policy advisor, he said he didn't even know. Make no mistake, the Biden border crisis was a choice. President Trump solved it.
Do you think it should be a crime to enter the country illegally?
I don't know anything about this.
Wow.
You don't have to, look, I'm not a lawyer, you don't have to be a lawyer. It's a simple question. Should it be a crime, I'll say it slowly, should it be a crime to enter the United States of America illegally?
I don't know
without
anything
permission.
about this.
Brain dead.
Do you have a home?
These people are evil.
I run.
Do you have a
Do you have
place
a
that
home?
you sleep in?
Yes.
Do you have a roof over your head?
Should it be a crime for people to enter your home without permission?
I don't know.
Yes. You're pretty certain on that one.
Yes.
So you had the
but
IQ
you're
to
not
answer
sure
that
if
one.
It's okay to enter America without permission.
Yeah, all of our home.
Which is our home, by the way.
All
you
our
don't know
own.
about America. Okay, gotcha.
Oh my God,
All
brain
right,
dead.
so this is the best the Democrats can come up with, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, they're not brain dead. They're just evil.
I hope the ranking member can listen for just a second, if you don't mind. This is the best witnesses you've got. A guy who can't distinguish whether it's okay to have people enter our country illegally.
Is it illegal for an illegal immigrant to enter the country illegally? I don't know. I'm going to repost that. You should watch that on your own time or show that to somebody, because that is absolutely just brutally insane. Again, that was an advisor for Joe Biden, right? Yeah, his senior policy advisor, Joe Biden's senior policy advisor, didn't even want to answer that question. These people are nuts. All right, Chief Michael W. Banks. What started decades ago as basic fencing has evolved into a modern mission-driven system engineered for today's threats. The new generation of border wall incorporates stronger materials, improved design, and tactical enhancements that bolster the security and well-being of our homeland. Build the wall from coast to coast, and if the immigrants have a 50-foot ladder, well, the wall just got 10 feet taller. And you could thank President Trump for getting this built, as he did in large part during his first administration. I think it was successful at securing something like 700 miles. And that's what they had up. They had like freaking corrugated sheet metal put up before. Who knows when that was? 30, 40 years ago? God knows, man. All right, Florida's Voice. Listen to how CNN downplayed the details of the attempted terror attack in New York City.
Did you hear about or see this story at all? Did you hear about the CNN?
Yeah, I breezed by it today. I didn't read it in depth.
Yeah, let's not breeze by. Let's read it together.
Let's analyze.
And then I'm going to come back to you and ask if this, as described, was anything like what actually happened. You ready? Here we go. Two Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would be drastically changed as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Mayor Zoran Mamdani's home.
Wow.
Here's what we know
Unreal.
so far. Now,
Unreal,
you
man.
see that, right? And
Evil.
You're like, hold on a second. First of all, the opening sentence.
They were Islamic terrorists.
Teenagers crossed into New York City for what could have been a normal day enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather.
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Now,
well, they could have enjoyed their day, but they decided
wait
not
a
to.
second. That seems a little soft to me.
You
know, when you're thinking about ISIS-inspired terrorism, 2 Pennsylvania teenagers, aw shucks, let's go to New York City and let's enjoy a warm day, just perusing the city.
Might as well throw in the word innocent in there. They're just innocent teenagers throwing bombs.
Now, Dia, I'm asking you, does that seem a little odd, the way it was couched?
They missed the Allahu Akbar part
Of course.
that they were shouting.
It's more than a little odd.
They missed the part where they announced that they were with ISIS.
You have to be kidding me. And so, obviously, plenty of people were like, what kind of nonsense is this? Then you had the interwebs doing what the interwebs does best. You ready, D? Here's some of what, let me see if I can find this. John Wilkes Booth strolled into Ford's Theater, eager for a relaxing night out, enjoying the arts, and to enjoy a star-studded performance of the play Our American Cousin. But in less than an hour, his life would drastically change after he decided to protest the president, who was also in attendance. Here's what we know so far. That's how ridiculous this is!
Yeah, retarded.
That's perfect.
It's like, do you understand? They don't.
Oh, no, they
That's
do
how
understand.
Crazy what they wrote.
They're just fucking...
on X's. And by the way, that is to, I don't know who Jay Plemons is on X, but kudos to you because you came up with this and I didn't. I don't take the credit for stuff like this. There are plenty of funny people and very creative people in the world, much more funnier and creative than I am. And so I give them credit, unlike some who fake like it's them.
Yeah, you know, I would peruse the comments a little bit more often, except I just can't because it's YouTube that we're on, and some of those comments just get absolutely wild because X/Twitter is free speech now that Elon Musk has purchased it. And you know what? I don't care if CNN was purchased by Paramount and the owners of Paramount, the family, I can't remember their name, is Ellisons, right? Something like Ellisons. I don't care if they're Trump supporters or not. I am never going to watch CNN again. I don't care how far to the right that they claim that they're going to be. Ain't going to happen. All right, I meme, therefore I am breaking the parents of ISIS supporting NYC bomb thrower Ibrahim Qayyumi own a $2.5 million Pennsylvania mansion. How about that? The 5,800 square foot home in scenic Newtown, Pennsylvania features 6 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. His parents are naturalized citizens from Afghanistan who fled their war-torn country seeking safety and opportunity in America, and this is how their son repays the country that gave them a new life by embracing extremism and hating this nation. So let's have a look at this. Big ass houses. And I will be on the record by saying, because YouTube doesn't like misinformation, I have no proof, no tangible proof that this is his parents' house. I have no idea if that is his house, his parents' house. I will point out the fact that this did get 53,000 likes and 4.1 million views. And it also comes from I meme, therefore I am. And it has meme in the name of the dude's account. And so take it with a grain of salt, even though he's got 862,000 followers. Is it actually their address? I mean, look, I would lean toward probably. I mean, there's a bunch of agents out here. It's during the winter time. Doesn't appear to be another time of the year. Yeah, so I guess just take it for what it is. All right, Mario Nawfal. Trump's threatening to hit Iran 20 times harder if they block Hormuz, warning of threats that would make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation. Death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. Iran's Ali Larijani responding directly. And so we've got that here. So let's read President Trump's post first. If Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation again. Death, fire, and fury will rain upon them, but I hope and pray that does not happen. This is a gift from the United States of America to China and all those nations that heavily use the Hormuz Strait. Hopefully, it is a gesture that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And we've got this response from this Iranian. Who did it say that it was? Yeah, I don't know. It's like it must be some Iranian, Ayatollah member or whatever the hell. The Ashura-loving nation of Iran does not fear your paper threats. Even those greater than you could not eliminate the Iranian nation. Watch out for yourself, lest you be eliminated. So, yeah, that doesn't sound like a threat at all, does it? Okay, so we also have this from Mario Nawfal. The U.S. just labeled the Sudanese Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, so maybe the dude's from Sudan. Yeah. The Muslim Brotherhood, a terrorist group, saying it's backed by Iran's IRGC and linked to mass killings of civilians, which I'm sure they are. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Again, I don't have ironclad proof of that. It says that the U.S. has labeled them as a terrorist group, which I did read on The Swamp yesterday, that they did indeed label them a terrorist organization. And Iran war hits the world. Report day 11, market hit, Japan, Tokyo. Okay, yeah, it looks like he's getting into like financial stuff at that point. Okay, so what else do we got from the U.S. Space Force? So they're chiming in on the Iranian conflict by providing space-enabled intelligence and targeting data for Operation Epic Fury. The U.S. Space Force is a critical link in the kill chain to find and neutralize enemy assets. And this is from U.S. Central Command. There is no shortage of American military will. This is another one that this was yesterday. I don't believe, I may have shown this on yesterday's episode. It's possible. I think I played 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, that one looks familiar. Another one gone and another one gone. Another one bites the dust. They're going to get you too. Splash, splash, splash. All right. And roll into the next. U.S. Central Command. U.S. Army soldiers are supporting the most integrated air defense umbrella in the history of the Middle East. Oh, wait, that was loud. Can only imagine being there. Probably much louder than that. Dude, it just blew that rocket out of the sky, didn't it? Like it might have made contact. Let's try that again, shall we? Oh, now it's nighttime. To the moon. Yep, just heading on up to the moon. And U.S. Central Command, U.S. forces are degrading the Iranian regime's ability to project power at sea and harass international shipping. For years, Iranian forces have threatened freedom of navigation in waters essential to American, regional, and global security and prosperity. As Trump said, China and probably India and other major countries. Holy cow, man, that was a big one. Oh, they're gone. Oh, a submarine. Looks like a submarine. See, it looks like they're shooting like a machine gun or something, but I don't think... yeah, that just looks like they're just like locked on target, quote unquote. Oh yeah, man, they're blowing them all up one by one. I think a lot of those were those watercrafts where they would... I can't remember how they worded it. That those watercrafts, they would... swarm them like bees or something like that. Like anytime that there's a vessel that's going through the Strait of Hormuz that Iran's not pleased with, that instead of just sending like one large vessel, they'll send like dozens of these small boats, skiffs or whatever, to swarm them, to overwhelm their ability to do I don't even know what. But yeah, so it looks like we're taking out all those little boats. From the Department of War, the first 10 days of Operation Epic Fury. So they've got this graphic, this image. U.S. bases are in the red, white, and blue. And the U.S.-Israeli strike. Those are all the strikes, of course. Iranian air defenses are in the diamonds. And Iranian strikes are just the little explosion, explodey symbols. Of course, they hit Iraq. They hit Jordan. Of course, some in Israel. And it looks like they spared Syria, though. Of course, there's Cyprus that they hit, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain. I mean, they were hitting everybody, man. They were firing all over the place. They really pissed off the Middle East, that's for damn sure. Operation Epic Fury timeline, the first 10 days. U.S. missiles strike the targets, and that's on February 28th. On the 1st of March, Israeli air superiority over Tehran. On the 2nd of March, U.S. bomber pulses B-2s, B-1 to B-52s. March 3rd, no Iranian warships in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, or the Gulf of Oman. On March 4th, U.S. SSN sinks Iranian warship. And the 4th of March, MV Sonagal Nami struck by Iranian OWAS, O-W-A-U-A-S, in Bahrain. I think that's Bahrain. The next day, March 5th, located and hit 40K ton IRGC in UAV carrier. And then the 8th of March, multi-access Lucas strike. And then yesterday, March 9th, 50 Iranian naval vessels out of action. And that is the latest, at least with day 10, posted 11 hours ago as of this recording. So they did post that today. And from Dylan Johnson from 6 hours ago as of this recording. And he, by the way, is the Assistant Secretary of State for Global Public Affairs. And he says over 40,000 American citizens have safely returned to the United States from the Middle East since February 28th. Under President Trump and Secretary Rubio's leadership, the Department of State has completed over 24 charter flights and has safely evacuated thousands of Americans from the Middle East. While commercial flight availability across the region continues to improve, Department of State charter flights and ground transport operations continue to operate. At this time, seats available on the department's charter options are significantly greater than the demand for Americans in the region. Many Americans continue to depart on commercial options. Despite having made these options available to every American who has requested travel assistance, State Department charter flights continue to operate with less than 40% occupancy on average. Most Americans who have requested assistance have declined assistance when offered, opting either to remain in the country or book more convenient commercial flight options. Through the State Department's 24/7 task force, we have directly assisted over 27,000 Americans abroad, offering security guidance and travel assistance. The State Department will continue to actively assist any American citizen who wishes to depart the Middle East to do so. Americans in the Middle East who need assistance can call the U.S. Department of State 24/7 at 202-501-4444. And this one from Rapid Response President Trump's Truth Social. He says, if Iran... Okay, no, I haven't read this yet. So if Iran has put out any mines in the Hormuz Strait and we have no reports of them doing so, we want them removed immediately. If for any reason mines were placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before. If, on the other hand, they remove what may have been placed, it will be a giant step in the right direction. Additionally, we are using the same technology and missile capabilities deployed against drug traffickers to permanently eliminate any boat or ship attempting to mine the Hormuz Strait. They will be dealt with quickly and violently. Beware, President Donald J. Trump. Dude, I guarantee they're watching the Strait of Hormuz like a hawk. I'm sure we've got probably dozens of satellites focused on it. I mean, of course, you know, a satellite can't just hover above the Strait of Hormuz. It has to orbit the Earth, but I'm sure that they have plenty of satellite assets that are constantly monitoring it. Even if they just catch a whiff of an Iranian vessel out there, they're probably going to blow it out of the water before it even has a chance to drop anything. And we got this follow-up from President Trump. I am pleased to report that within the last few hours, we have hit and completely destroyed 10 inactive mine-laying boats and or ships, with more to follow. President Donald J. Trump. So sounds like some of them FAFO'd. In DOW Rapid Response, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, quote, the mullahs are desperate and scrambling. Like the terrorist cowards they are, they fire missiles from schools and hospitals, deliberately targeting innocents because they know their military is being systematically degraded and annihilated. Iran's neighbors, and in some cases former allies in the Gulf, have abandoned them. Their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, are either broken, ineffective, or on the sidelines. They stand alone, and they are badly losing. Of course, they're hiding behind women and children. They're hiding in hospitals and schools because that's what terrorists do.
Mullahs are desperate and scrambling. Like the terrorist cowards they are, they fire missiles
it's extremely
from
cowardly.
Schools and hospitals, deliberately targeting innocents. Because they
I hear some of the officials are walking around in burqas. They're walking around in women's clothes because they don't want to be identified.
Iran's neighbors,
that's what they're doing,
and
man. They're
in
dressed
some
in a drag.
cases, former allies in the Gulf, they've abandoned them. And their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, either broken, ineffective, or on the sidelines. Iran stands alone, and they are badly losing.
Yep, on the sidelines. I actually don't think that I have that post. I did come across a post at some point where they had on an image who what appeared to be an Iranian official. Well, it didn't even appear. He was wearing a burqa, so like all you could see was just like the little slit where the eyes are. But this individual was like way taller than the women around, and yeah, definitely looked like a dude in a burqa. And according to the person who posted it, it was some Iranian official who's trying to hide. And apparently that's what they're doing now, even though I don't have direct evidence of that. That's just something I came across. And Secretary Ward, today will be yet again our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, most strikes. On the other hand, the last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles. And this was just 12 hours ago, so this was
Today
this morning.
Will be yet again our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes.
Oh, man, the winning. You just don't get tired of it, though.
And better than ever. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, the last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles they've been capable of firing yet. Just the bifurcation, just the trend lines that we talked about on our first briefing. You see, this is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldier will not let that happen again, and nor will this president, who very clearly ran against those kinds of never-ending, nebulously scoped missions. Those days are dead. Instead, we're winning decisively with brutal efficiency, total air dominance, and an unbreakable will to accomplish the president's objectives on our timeline.
I mean, look, my main question, though, is that if they're hiding in schools and hospitals behind women and children, I mean, how are we going to take them out at that point? Other than just sending boots on the ground. Maybe that's what Israel's going to do. Maybe Israel's going to send boots on the ground to wipe them out and pick them off one by one. And Europe, they're frustrating by saying, we need diplomacy. We should stop all of the fighting and we should just sit down at the table and engage in some diplomacy. Well, it's a little bit late for that. And plus, I think we've been doing that for months at this point. You really think, like, how psychotic that would be at this point if we just, like, called off everybody, called off the fighters and call off everything, and we just invite them to the table, nicely. Here's a seat for you, Iran. You can come to the table and we'll talk it out. Look, dude, we already tried that. We've been trying that for months, and they just refused to do any kind of diplomacy. So that's why we had to go to plan B. All right, Rep. Andy Ogles. America is a product of English Christian culture, not Islamic culture, not progressive culture. If we don't cease to import Islam, the West falls.
Importation of Islam into this nation undermines our communities, our cities, our nation. Christianity is the answer, always. Let me be clear.
God bless America.
America is and must always be a Christian nation.
America is a Christian nation.
That isn't just the opinion of a Tennessean. It's the conviction of nearly every key figure in our founding. Even those who didn't have a close personal relationship with Christ. John Adams most clearly and eloquently stated, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people.
Yeah,
American
moral.
culture
Key
is
word.
a product of English Christian culture. The Pilgrims were English Christians who wanted to reform the Church of England. Those in Jamestown were Puritans whose society centered on the local church. Free expression, rule of law, respect for women, minorities, no religion except Christianity can offer that.
Man, he was on fire. Dropping some truth bombs. And look, freedom of religion, that is baked into our First Amendment. Can't really get around that. So, like, if you're Hindu or you're Muslim or whatever religion, sure, you can practice it. Just don't infringe on other people's rights. And don't insist that we all have to curtail to your likings and your desires with all of this Islamic Sharia law and all that nonsense. Nathan Brand, I'm still not convinced Democrat James Tallarico is a real. This is absurd. And okay, so we've got a quote. So James Tallarico, he's some Democrat. He's running for office. Democrat, Texas U.S. Senate candidate. That's who he is. Yeah, so he's running for Senate. Oh, that's right. He's the one that defeated Jasmine Crockett, if I'm not mistaken.
Christ is the immigrant deported without due process.
What?
Christ is the
senior
deprived of their Social Security benefits. Christ is the protester kidnapped in an unmarked vehicle by plainclothes officers.
Oh, so you're claiming false prophets now, apparently. Is that what he's doing? He's claiming that Jesus Christ is somebody that he's not? All right, so Nick Sorter, I got a follow-up to this. WTF, Democrat Texas U.S. Senate candidate James Tallarico is a full-on creep. The interviewer said something you love that's not a family or friends, and he says trans children? What?
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children who showed up yesterday at the state capitol to advocate for their humanity. They shouldn't have to, but it was an inspiration to watch.
Oh my God, dude, this dude's nuts. He is absolutely nuts. He's just got trans children on the mind. He's always got the trans children on the mind. All right, so this one, I had to include this one. This one's just way over the top. Too over the top to pass up. Currently waiting on the AI version. No, look, okay, so this is AOC. As you can tell, it's AOC. This is the AI version, okay, YouTube? This is the AI version. No misinformation here. This is strictly AI, and I didn't come up with this. This is from Erica. I'm not familiar with Erica. I just came across this today. I found it to be hilarious, so let's give this a watch. All right, so I had to do that, man. Come on. I mean, how you get to pass that up? All right, so Bridget Ferdig. In Arizona, Donald Trump lost the 2020 election by just 11,000 votes statewide. Yet an independent audit in Maricopa County alone uncovered 57,000 questionable ballots, far exceeding the margin that flipped the state for Biden in just one county. The media ignored the evidence. The audit faced obstruction from Arizona officials, and key evidence was removed and destroyed before thorough examinations could occur. Rigging elections is treason. Well, I seem to remember a certain time and place, which was election night of 2020. Coincidence would have it when Fox News had called Arizona for Joe Biden way before anybody else did. Y'all remember that too? I mean, I'm not crazy. I'm pretty sure that happened. It was like what, like 9 o'clock at night. Like the polls had just I don't even know if the polls were even fully closed in Arizona when they called it for Biden. It was that fast and that early. All right.
Arizona, Joe Biden beat Donald Trump by 11,000 votes. An audit in Maricopa County done by an outside firm found 57,000 questionable ballots just in that one county. The media wasn't interested in this. And the audit wasn't as thorough as it could have been because Arizona officials wouldn't fully cooperate, and some evidence was removed and destroyed. So there's a dangerous pattern in the United States.
Well, that sounds like a felony.
Politicians, prosecutors, and the press are abusing their power to wage political warfare against innocent people. And even when the abuse is exposed, the press runs cover for the conspiracy. We're picking it apart.
Voter ID.
But we need more honest Americans on the inside.
One ballot per voter.
Office. Be a reporter.
Vote in person.
I tell you to be a lawyer, but this country does not need any more lawyers. Just the right ones in the right places. So get it right.
I'll give him that one.
Or be a judge. We can't win the battle from the outside. You know what you need to do.
Yeah, Arizona, we need to insist on voter ID. And 71% of Democrats are already on board with that. Something like, what, 92, 95% of Republicans are. Mark Meadows, I'm going to keep posting our whip count so America knows which senators are supportive of passing the Save America Act via standing filibuster. As promised, I'll update this list daily as more senators join the fight. And he's got a long list, so I'm not going to read them all out. If you want to pause the video and look to see if your senator's on there. I believe that both of mine are on there. Yeah, we've got Ashley Moody and Rick Scott. Yep, so both mine are there and represented. So he's going to keep updating the list, as he said. And this was yesterday, so I'm assuming maybe he's just going to drop another post later on today with the updated list, if there is an update. And from Eric Daugherty, breaking, President Trump confirms he's going to get the names of the 4 to 5 GOP senators refusing to pass the Save America Act. We're going to have to push the Senate. You have 4 or 5 senators. Every time I go out, Save America Act, sir, that's all they talk about. Yeah, it is. And like I said, on the X platform, all of the Republican senators, they're getting ratioed left and right. Even when they're dropping posts that have nothing to do with the Save America Act, they're getting inundated with comments from people saying Save America Act over and over again. Oh, this is really quiet.
And we're going to have to push the Senate because you have 4 or 5 senators that are, I don't know, 4 or 5 Republican senators. You'll have to explain them to me, but we're not going to get into that. But we're going to push them to get it done because I don't think you can politically exist if you're not going to do voter ID and these things. I don't think the people in this country will stand for it. So I'm making my biggest plea tonight. It'll make you, and I'm not doing it for this reason at all. It'll guarantee the midterms. It'll guarantee the midterms. If you don't get it,
voter ID. It's that simple.
My opinion. If you get this, your midterms, and they know it. For 2 reasons.
Oh, 100%.
Number one, they won't be able to cheat.
Absolutely.
And number 2, the people are demanding it. Every time I go
out, we're demanding it.
Save America, sir. Save America Act. We want the Save America Act, sir. That's all they talk about.
Yeah,
They don't
that will
talk
charge
about
people to go
housing.
out and vote.
They don't talk
They'll
about
get
anything.
supercharged.
That's what they talk about. And if you send it up that you're going to win the midterms at levels that you can't even believe, and you're going to win every election for a long time until somebody really screws things up, and hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah, well, hopefully it won't happen. I don't know, man. It just, at each passing day, it just doesn't seem like it's going to end up happening. But that he is absolutely right. I mean, Americans are absolutely demanding this. Even the majority of Democrats, the majority of Democrat voters, they want voter ID too. It's just that simple. Define L's, Elon Musk, the same people who are demanding that you have a vaccine passport are the same ones saying you need no ID to vote.
Much, say, Hillary and Obama have changed their tune from prior speeches where they were hard-nosed about not letting in anyone who's a criminal into the country, having secure borders, all that stuff. So why did they change their tune? The reason is that they discovered that those people vote for them. That's why they want the open borders.
Because if you let people in, they know the Democrats let them in, they'll vote for Democrats.
Yes.
If you allow them to vote.
Which they're actively doing. They turn a blind eye to illegal voting.
Well, California literally doesn't allow you to show your license.
California and New York have made it illegal to show your photo ID when voting.
That's so
Effectively,
fucked
they've
up.
made
But they're not cheating now.
Impossible to prove fraud. Impossible. They've essentially legalized fraudulent voting in California and New York. And many other parts of the country.
There's no rational explanation that I've ever seen anyone give as to why that would be the policy. Unless you were trying to just allow people to vote illegally, because there's no other reason.
The same people who are demanding that you have a vaccine passport are the same ones saying you need no ID to vote. Same people.
Yeah, so obviously whoever edited this, they were editing out the parts where Elon will sometimes just sit in thought for like 5 or 10 seconds, gathering up his thoughts as he looks up toward the ceiling. Because he tends to do that, but he makes a very good point that Joe Rogan did too. Why would they even pass that? What justifiable reason would they have for making it illegal for you to show your ID when you go to vote? Unless they want to cheat. It's that simple. Cheat, cheat, cheat. All right, breaking 911, CNN, the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. Passed the Save America Act. And this was probably, I don't know if they actually showed this again just the other night or last night. I have seen this statistic on CNN and probably at least a couple of times at this point. So maybe they're just reminding their audience yet again.
Okay, what's the racial breakdown on this, right? Because I think a lot of people make the argument that people of color, non-white Americans, have a harder time procuring a photo ID to vote. But even here, take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
Yeah, only 100%, or pretty damn near close to it. 76% black, 82% Latino, and 85% white all agree that you should have an ID to vote. And Paul Sperry says new GOP rep Barry Loudermilk has made a criminal referral of Democrat star January 6 witness Cassidy Hutchinson to the Justice Department for allegedly lying to Congress in her summer 2022 testimony about Trump's role in the January 6th riot. And this is going to be on CNN of all places. And it's even an exclusive. The GOP lawmakers push for charges against former White House aide for January 6th testimony. I can't even make heads or tails with CNN anymore. Sometimes they pretend like they're trying to lean conservative. Other times they try to lean as far left as they could possibly lean. Okay, Republicans on Capitol Hill are asking the Justice Department to consider bringing criminal charges against Cassidy Hutchinson, a former aide in President Donald Trump's first administration who became a star congressional witness about the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, according to two sources familiar with recent developments. GOP Rep. Barry Loudermilk made a criminal referral of Hutchinson to the Justice Department in recent days, the sources said. He accused Hutchinson of lying to Congress in her summer 2022 testimony when she alleged Trump was aware of the potential for violence on January 6th and forged ahead with his attempts to rile up his supporters, which we've all seen the speech. It was all over TV, and he specifically told everybody not to protest, remain peaceful, we're going to live to fight another day, that kind of thing. Loudermilk has long attempted to reframe the public perception of the events at the Capitol, including by scrutinizing the House committee that investigated the Capitol riot and found Trump was directly responsible for the riot. Loudermilk's referral was co-signed by House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, who chairs the committee under which Loudermilk is running a probe of January 6th. The Justice Department's press office didn't respond to inquiries about the referral. Both current and former lawyers for Hutchinson didn't respond to multiple inquiries this week from CNN. CNN has reached out to Loudermilk for a comment. It's not uncommon for Congress to make criminal referrals regarding witnesses that have come before it previously, especially in heavily charged political situations, and referrals don't necessarily lead to charges. A referral at times could add to a criminal investigation or prompt one. They are often treated by the Justice Department as suggestions. A referral and possible Justice Department action against Hutchinson could refocus attention on a fraught aspect of the work years ago of the House Select Committee and prosecutors. It also comes at a time when the Trump administration has pursued politically charged criminal cases against former government figures whom Trump considers opponents. Hutchinson has drawn scrutiny for years. Hutchinson, 29 years old, was the top aide to former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows at the end of the first Trump administration. The Select Committee, created by then Speaker Nancy Pelosi, considered her a key eyewitness to several episodes leading up to January 6th, in addition to witnessing some of Trump's real-time reactions that day. Her testimony drew significant blowback from Republicans. Justice Department prosecutors under former President Joe Biden's administration interviewed her during their inquiry into Trump and other powerful Republican figures and took some of her accusations seriously, sources familiar with the probe told CNN. Hutchinson testified she had heard a secondhand account that Trump was so enraged at his Secret Service detail for blocking him from going to the Capitol on January 6th that he lunged to the front of his presidential limo and tried to turn the wheel. Yeah, okay, I remember hearing about all that nonsense. A Secret Service agent and White House deputy whom Hutchinson said were also aware of the story have said they don't remember it. Yeah, because it didn't happen, because that's retarded. Hutchinson had alleged the lawyer she initially worked with, Stefan Passantino, who was the top ethics attorney in the first Trump administration, had made clear to her that the less she recalled to House investigators, the better. Before her blockbuster testimony in June 2022, Hutchinson dropped Passantino and got a new lawyer. Once she switched attorneys, she shared more information with the former Select Committee, both through closed-door interviews and in a public hearing. Passantino had repeatedly said he acted ethically in representing Hutchinson, ushered her through cooperative rounds of testimony, and believed she had been truthful initially. Legal ethics investigators in Washington, D.C. and Georgia both dropped inquiries into Passantino that arose after Hutchinson's testimony. The FBI and Biden-era Justice Department prosecutors investigated Hutchinson's accusations about the Trump-backed lawyer and others who may have been involved in Hutchinson's account of events, sources have told CNN. No charges were brought. Anyway, so I will leave it there. It does go on for a bit longer. Anyway, I will have that linked below if you want to have a look at the rest of that article. And we'll just move on to FBI Director Kash Patel. This week, the FBI is adding new fugitives to the 10 most wanted list. We are replenishing the list after arresting 6 of the top 10 the last year. A massive year after only 4 were arrested the previous 4 years combined. With 6 off the board, we are adding more. Today's Samuel Ramirez Jr., wanted for his alleged involvement in the 2023 murders of 2 female victims and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $1 million for information leading directly to his arrest. Anyone with information can call 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip to tips.fbi.gov. And there he is, Samuel Ramirez Jr., $1 million reward if you know where to find him. Unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, which I'm assuming he's not in the United States anymore. God knows where he's at. Murder in the first degree, murder in the second degree, attempted murder in the first degree. And why he was even allowed out of jail is just unbelievable to me. It sounds like California to me. It says birthplaces in California. And he's wanted for his alleged involvement in the murders of 2 female victims May 21st of 2023 at the Stars Bar and Grill in Federal Way, Washington. Oh, it was in Washington. Okay, so obviously Washington State let him out of jail. Even after he committed murder, they allowed him to be released. Look, in my state, in Florida, if you are charged with first-degree murder, they don't let you out. They don't let you out until your trial. You have to sit and wait. A third person was also injured in the shooting. After the homicide, Ramirez Jr. fled to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and was driven into Tijuana, Mexico on May 23rd. On May 24th, the King County Superior Court, State of Washington, issued an arrest warrant for Ramirez Jr. after he was charged with murder in the first degree. Okay, so he wasn't arrested and then let go. Apparently, he committed the murder and then fled, and then they charged him with murder. Okay, all right. I think I'm on the same page. All right, and murder in the second degree, attempted murder in the first degree. On November 14th of 2025, a federal arrest warrant was issued for Ramirez Jr. in the United States District Court, Western District of Washington, Seattle, Washington, after he was charged with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. He should be considered armed and dangerous. And let's rock and roll to the next. And I'll be on the lookout for the next one tomorrow. It sounds like FBI Director Kash Patel is going to be releasing another name tomorrow and another until they have the top 10 list replenished. Oversight Committee whistleblowers revealed the truth about fraud in Minnesota. Chairman Rep. James Comer, quote, almost all of them were registered Democrats, blowing the whistle about fraud for years. Read our report exposing the massive fraud allowed under Tim Walz and Keith Ellison. And this is going to be the whole report, which I will link right now. So that'll be down below, and it's going to start with oversight.house.gov if you want to take a look at it down below. YouTube down in the description whenever, not just me, but whenever anybody links any hyperlinks down below in the description, it only shows like the first 30 characters or something like that. So I at least try to reveal the beginning of it so that way you can at least find it quickly. All right, so we've got this on
We've done
Fox
the
News.
heavy lifting. We brought in all the whistleblowers from Minnesota. These were career state employees. Almost all of them were registered Democrats. They've been blowing the whistle about fraud for years. They testified under oath in our
I think over a decade in at least
that
one
they
case.
knew about the fraud. They had repeatedly warned both Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison, and they were told to stand down. One even went so far as saying they were retaliated
Yeah, they were
against
threatened
for continuing to blow the whistle on the fraud. So we have that evidence. That was in the report. We gave Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison due process. They had the ability to defend themselves, and they couldn't defend themselves. So now we have the report.
Yeah, and I think Americans would like to know what the hell's going to happen now. What's going to happen with AG Keith Ellison, who's the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota, and also, of course, the Governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. What's going to happen with them? Are they going to get charged with anything? No, probably not. I mean, if you want the simple answer, I highly doubt it. I don't think anything's going to happen. I think they're going to be allowed to serve the rest of their tenure, and then they're just going to ride off quietly into the sunset with God knows how much money that they probably may have skimmed off the top. All right, so Ian Jager breaking NYC is considering raising the minimum wage to $30 an hour. Dude, it is going to be absolutely impossible to live in New York City. I mean, look, it doesn't... See, look, it didn't reply to me on this one either. Yeah, it didn't. What the hell? What the hell's going on with Grok today? I don't know if it's replying to anybody or if it's just me, but I'll take a look at it. But raising the minimum wage, all it does is just bust more people down to minimum wage. I mean, look, like what does this do for somebody who's making $31 an hour today? Whereas, I don't know what the minimum wage is in New York. Was it $15? Probably $20. Actually, I think it might actually be $20. So anybody who's making $31 an hour today, they're making $11 over minimum wage. But if they pass this, it's going to bust them all the way down to bare minimum wage. And look, they might have a little bit of buying power for maybe the first year that's implemented, but all that's going to do is just raise the amount of people who have nothing, like bare minimum wage, barely scraping to get by. That's what minimum wage, raising it, that's what it always does. It doesn't lift people out of poverty. It just drags more people down to bare minimum wage poverty. It's exactly what it does. And that post was correct. Yes, New York City is considering it. On March 10th, today, city council members led by Councilmember Sandra Nurse introduced legislation to raise the local minimum wage to $30 an hour by 2030, phased in earlier for larger employers, $20 an hour by 2027, reaching $30 by 2030. Smaller employers lag slightly, hitting $30 by 2032. The current New York City minimum wage is $17 an hour, so they're basically going to double it, really. This proposal, if passed, would make it the highest in the U.S., but it's still just a bill under consideration, not enacted law yet, although I would just pretty much, in my opinion, guarantee that this is going to end up happening if they're already at this stage, that they're talking about it and introducing it, which, by the way, just doing a quick calculation, that breaks down to about $62,400 per year. That's minimum wage, bare minimum wage in New York City. I mean, you think it's unaffordable now. It's going to be just downright impossible, but that's... I don't know if that was a bonehead Mom Donnie's idea or not. Probably was, because he's trying to make rent affordable for everybody. He's trying to make the city more affordable. Well, raising the minimum wage to $30 an hour is not going to make anything any more affordable at all. Like I said, maybe for 6 months, maybe for a few months until all those wages catches up to reality, and then everything just suddenly just doubles in cost. I mean, rent, $4,000 for a shoebox studio apartment, $4,000 a month is going to suddenly become like $7,000 a month or $8,000 a month. All right, DC Drano, this is the true America. From Matt Van Swoll, breaking: hundreds of people have just shown up to the funeral of a veteran with no known relatives in Nashville, Tennessee. The public was invited to attend to ensure the veteran was honored and not laid to rest alone. Hundreds of people showed up. Absolutely beautiful. All right, have staff. My bad. I didn't even freaking think to turn off my stupid background music. Hopefully it wasn't really interfering. Yeah, anyway, that was awesome that so many people pay their respects in the tune of hundreds of people. I mean, that's nice. It's one of those feel-good things that you come across on social media sometimes, you know, in the face of just all this, like, this doom and gloom and darkness that we're facing all the time. And, you know, at least a lot of people turned out, so that's a good thing. Speaker Mike Johnson, under President Trump and House Republicans, America is back. Remaining the world's leader on AI will help bring the U.S. as the world's preeminent superpower. President Trump's ratepayer protection pledge is a crucial part of building that important foundation.
Well, thanks so much, Mr. Secretary. Thanks to you all. It's a great honor to be here with the leaders of tech and industry, the FERC commissioners. They are so very important, and all these folks who help all this happen. Look, only President Trump has the gravitas to be able to assemble the leaders of all these great companies in one room, and also to conceive of an idea like the ratepayer protection pledge. This is an idea whose time has come. I think it's going to be so well received around the country because, let's be honest about it, there are concerns that people have had. There's a lot of misinformation out there, Mr. Secretary, about the rise in energy demand and what that's going to mean for our communities. So it is so meaningful to have leaders, the titans, to come in and say, everybody be calm. This is going to be great. It's actually going to be better going forward. Not only is America going to stay on top and lead and be the strong superpower that we are, we're going to continue to lead on AI. We're going to continue to make the communities better. I'm in the state of Louisiana. A lot of this is happening in Louisiana, Mr. President. It's not just a bunch of beautiful pipes.
Helps when you're Speaker of the House.
It's also data centers. And Matt is doing a big one. And, of course, Amazon's working in Louisiana, and Stack, and so many of the other companies. And our communities are so grateful to have that investment, and also grateful because they're coming in as great corporate partners, community partners. And they're acting responsibly. They're helping to build out the energy grid, and they're making life better, not just with good paying jobs. They're actually making life better in these communities and in our states. And so we're so grateful for that. I like what you said a moment ago. This is a win-win-win across the board. You have everybody who's come to the table in good faith under the leadership of this extraordinary president to make this happen for the country. It's at the perfect time. Trust is not given by communities and local stakeholders. It's built over time. And I think this pledge is a huge part of building that important foundation for the future. America's back, Mr. President. I'm so excited about that. Excited to be a part of this. Thanks so much for letting us be in. Yeah.
Well, it certainly makes the case for First Lady Melania Trump to take the initiative to educate children on AI because, yeah, the government's not backing down from it anytime soon. They're just going to keep ramping it up because we're in an AI race against China. And I'm not sure what other countries are looking at with regard to Russia and China. I'm not sure where they fit in with this whole AI war that we're engaged in, trying to become the best of the best with regard to AI. Although I'm not so sure about on the public, the domestic area, the sector. It looks like AI is like a lot of people are getting sick of it from what I keep seeing. That, you know, people just they certainly don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for any services. A lot of people are irritated with Microsoft like infusing Copilot AI into literally everything. Apparently they're going to start generating AI on the fly when you play Xbox, which apparently a lot of people are really pissed off about too. So as far as the public is concerned, I think people are getting a little sick of AI. And I actually read a study the other day in the workforce there with the positions where they have added AI to just everyday employees onto their plates. Apparently they're having to spend more time having to correct the AI, or it's just, in a general sense, it's just adding more to their plate. It's taking up more time out of their day than if they just didn't have AI in the first place. And apparently that's happening with most job positions where AI is becoming, I don't know if it's front and center or if they're still just using it as a tool. I assume the latter to be the case. All right, so Leader John Thune, Republicans put more money in Americans' pockets with the working families tax cuts, and now we are continuing our work on affordability with the 21st Century Road to Housing Act to open the door to affordable homes for hardworking Americans around the country. Now, that is a very loaded term, affordable homes. Basically, if you're in the middle class, if you make so I was going back and forth with Google AI, what is it called, Gemini or whatever, and I was asking it questions with regard to that. Okay, so affordable housing. What about somebody who makes $40,000 a year? And it said it would widely and almost certainly make you exempt because you make too much money. So if you're looking for affordable housing, which I'm assuming this whole Road to Housing Act is going to pertain to that, if you make anywhere over $40,000, and probably over maybe even like $25,000 or $30,000, you're going to be exempt from these. So you're not going to be able to buy your first house under this. Look, maybe not this specifically. Maybe it doesn't pertain to that. I was just engaging in a conversation with regard to affordable housing in general. Every time Democrats or Republicans, anytime that they refer to affordable housing, they're generally referring to low-income housing, which makes no sense how you're going to be able to buy a house where the average house in America is about $400,000 on average right now. Only 15% of Americans can afford the average price house today. But when it comes to affordable houses, okay, well, if you only make like 20 grand a year, then yeah, you can get your first house, no problem. We'll subsidize it with everybody else's tax dollars because that makes sense.
Mr. President, home ownership, that quintessential part of the American dream, has become increasingly unattainable for a lot of Americans. And for younger Americans in particular, the New York Times reports
they're paying attention, man.
Have surged roughly
Young
50%
Americans.
since the pandemic, and mortgage rates have also risen.
And Trump wants to keep the
December
housing prices high.
2025 article from the
that.
New York Post notes, and I quote, "A new bank rate analysis has found that more than 75% of listings nationwide are out of financial reach for a median income family."
No, dude, 85%. I've seen that number all over the place.
Just under $80,000.
It's actually 85%.
To swing a medium-priced home in 2025, buyers now need to earn roughly $113,000 a year.
Yep, that number's accurate. In where I live in Tampa, I believe it's $116,000 a year, and yeah, that's about the national average. And 25% of Americans do not earn $113,000 a year. They don't. It's something like 85 or 86% of Americans make less than $100,000 a year.
Which is a gap that's turning the
households, by the way, households,
into a math problem that few can solve, end quote. Let me just repeat that, Mr. President. A gap that's turning the starter home dream into a math problem few can solve. With these kinds of numbers, it's no surprise that the typical age of first-time home buyers has reached an all-time high of age 40.
Yep, 40.
Or that in a recent New York Times poll, 25% of registered voters listed housing as their biggest financial worry. The only category to get more than 20%. That number was even worse for young people, with more than 50% of registered voters between the ages of 18 and 29 putting housing at the top of their financial worry list.
Oh yeah, dude, they're
Mr.
cooked.
President, this week
It's just not going to happen.
On the floor this week is the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, a package of bills targeted at making housing more affordable and accessible for hardworking Americans. This bill isn't some new government program that will drive up costs to taxpayers while doing little or nothing to solve housing problems for everyday Americans.
I certainly hope it slashes a shitload of red tape.
This bill offers real solutions that will unlock new home construction, drive down prices, and increase the supply of affordable homes. Mr. President, one problem
how's it
driving
going to
up
do
the
that?
cost of housing is regulation.
How's it going to drive down
Regulations account
pricing?
for roughly
Because Trump was pretty specific. He wants housing to stay expensive.
A new single-family dwelling. And of course, these costs are passed on to the consumer in the form of higher selling prices for new homes. That's why the 21st Century Road to Housing Act takes aim at unnecessary regulation by removing, streamlining, or updating regulations that act as a drag on the supply of affordable housing. And along with removing regulatory barriers.
Yeah, look, that would certainly help, especially, I don't know if it's going to touch on timber. I think timber would be a very important thing to go after because I'm sure that there's a lot of red tape and regulations with regard to that. Oh, you can't cut down that many trees. You can only cut down these many trees. You're only allowed to cut down like 2 acres a day or whatever the hell the regulations are. I'm sure that they're in place to where they're essentially like kneecapped with the amount of timber that the industry could probably produce at any given day, which I would assume that's probably why the cost of lumber has gone up so damn much.
The 21st Century Road to Housing Act focuses on unleashing private sector investment. And, Mr. President, this entire bill has been put together with an emphasis on allowing states and local communities to pursue the housing solutions that work for them. Look at the great diversity of circumstances across rural, suburban, and urban communities, and it should be clear to everyone that one-size-fits-all mandates from Washington are not the solution. Instead, we need to empower states and localities to create the solutions that fit their particular communities. Mr. President, there's a lot more in this bill, from support for veterans and rural communities to increased oversight and accountability for federal housing programs. It's the product of good ideas from both parties and from both houses of Congress. And it's no surprise that it's supported by everyone from the National League of Cities to the National Association of Affordable Housing Leaders.
All right, okay, we get it. You know, everybody supports it. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. Houses are going to be so dirt cheap. It's going to be like the 1980s all over again. The average house is going to cost like $78,000. Yeah, in our dreams. That would certainly be nice, although I highly doubt that's going to happen. From Nick Sortor, just in, President Trump just announced the U.S. has opened our first oil refinery in 50 years, and it comes with a $300 billion investment from Indian energy firm Reliance. Those things really cost that much money to build? That's insane. This is a historic $300 billion deal, the biggest in U.S. history, a massive win for American workers, energy, and the great people of South Texas. And this is from President Trump. America is returning to real energy dominance. Today, I am proud to announce that America First Refining is opening the first new U.S. oil refinery in 50 years in Brownsville, Texas. This is a historic $300 billion deal, the biggest in U.S. history, a massive win for American workers, energy, and the great people of South Texas. Thank you to our partners in India and their largest privately held energy company, Reliance, for this tremendous investment. It is because our America First agenda, streamlining permits and lowering taxes, that have attracted billions of dollars in deals coming back to our nation. A new refinery at the Port of Brownsville will fuel U.S. markets, strengthen our national security, boost American energy production, deliver billions of dollars in economic impact, and will be the cleanest refinery in the world. It will power global exports and bring thousands of long overdue jobs and growth to a region that deserves it. This is why American energy dominance looks like. This is what it looks like. America first, always. So for for India to be involved in it, I can only assume that they're going to be refining a lot of that oil into gasoline to send to India, I would assume. Maybe that's why. Not 100% sure. Although, you know, I could believe in some way or another that it's going to generate revenue for the state of Texas. It might generate some for the federal government. I just can't help but wonder, you know, what, like, for India to invest $300 billion, what are they getting out of it? I mean, obviously they're going to want their return on investment. And breaking 911. So this isn't related to the swamp, but this was all over social media today. This bus fire that happened, I think it was in Switzerland today, so I figured I'd include it. A postal bus caught fire in Curzers in the canton of Fribourg, leaving several people dead and others injured, according to Fribourg Cantonal Police. Authorities confirmed the incident to local media, but said the exact number of victims and the severity of the injuries remain unclear. Police have cordoned off the area around the bus and are urging residents to stay away as emergency crews continue to respond and investigators work to determine what happened. Again, this was in Switzerland. A man sets himself on fire aboard a bus in Curzers, Switzerland, leaving multiple people injured. So let's have a look at this. Holy moly.
Oh man,
it completely burned up. Is that the American flag on there? Kind of looked like it. No, it couldn't be. It's Switzerland. I mean, like, I know we build buses, or at least we used to, school buses. Like we have a Carpenter and what was it, Bluebird or something like that. So anyway, yeah, so that was in Switzerland. I'm not sure if that's going to be related to terrorism. I'm sure there's going to be some update at some point after they investigate the person behind it, a man who allegedly set himself on fire. It could have just been just some crazy, maybe somebody was off his meds or something, or maybe it could be something more sinister. Not sure, at least not right now. From FEMA, from 4 hours ago, dangerous tornadoes are possible in the upper Midwest today. Know what to do if you are caught in a car during a tornado. Stay in the car with the seatbelt on. Cover your head with your hands in a blanket. Avoid seeking shelter under bridges. Yeah, well, okay, I guess. Although I'm just looking back to when I was a kid, being in the car. I was always told that you're supposed to find the nearest ditch and just lay flat in a ditch, especially like the deeper the better. And as far as the bridge, I thought that was a good thing. I thought you were supposed to, if you find yourself under a bridge, to get like all the way up into the corner. I don't know. Obviously, things have changed. Maybe because our infrastructure has been crumbling for years. Maybe the bridges aren't as reliable as they were back in the 90s. All right, so we've got this link, which I'm not going to go through all of the details. I'll just have that linked if you want to check that out. Just the different tips and tricks with being caught near a tornado in your vehicle. And yeah, as I say, I think this is just a random graphic. They're not going to go over anything on that. So anyway, that came from FEMA, which unfortunately they still remain defunded. And by the way, I forgot to point this out with John Thune a minute ago. 2,100 likes, 14,000 comments. Tony, man, he's getting brutally ratioed. That's like, what, 7-to-1? Damn near 7-to-1 ratio. It's insane. All right, so let's wrap it up. NASA's Glenn Research Center. Space travel can be tricky, especially when it comes to fuel. NASA Glenn engineers are working to support longer NASA Artemis missions by testing cryofill, a technology that would allow us to liquefy oxygen on the moon or Mars to refuel landers on the surface. Think of it as building the first space gas station on the moon. And if you're not familiar, NASA Artemis, those are the moon missions that they are engaged in currently. The Artemis 2 mission is supposed to be launching here in a couple of weeks, and they're not going to land on the moon. They're just going to hook around the moon. They're just going to make a full revolution of the moon. I don't even think they're even going to go all the way around the moon, like a full revolution. They're just going to go around the far side of the moon, and they're going to come back to Earth. It's like 11 days, I think. It's going to be the farthest distance that humans have ever traveled from the Earth once they complete that mission. And then they've got this info if you want to look into it, like the cryofuel or whatever they call it. Yeah, cryofill, which is cryogenic fluid in situ liquefaction for landers. A project could transform the way NASA fuels future space exploration missions, reducing costs and extending the duration of planetary surface operations. I mean, yeah, if they could figure out how to make that work, that'd be fantastic, especially if they're able to pull water from the surface of the moon, because I believe where they're going to be landing the Artemis missions, I believe that it's going to be on the south pole of the moon. I'm pretty sure that they had discovered water there, and they think that it's really close to the surface, like just a few feet from the surface. So they'd be able to dig down and have access to water, which they could refine the water, split the hydrogen and oxygen molecules, so then they could use potentially the hydrogen for fuel, being that it's the most explosive gas in the universe. And then, of course, oxygen they could use to breathe, or they could also use that as fuel too. All right, from NASA, for 20 years, our Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has searched the planet for signs of long-ago water. It has sent back photos that are not only stunning, but useful. They'll help us when future astronauts land on Mars to explore it. Which is your favorite? Oh, that one's cool. So different. Oh, yeah, that looks like a plume. Looks like a dust plume or something that's looks like it might be falling down the rock face or something, maybe down a cliff. Those look like sand dunes. Martian dust dunes. Is that like maybe Olympus Mons, or it could be a crater, a cauldron, one or the other. Yeah, that one's definitely a crater. It definitely looks like a crater to me. All right, so that, I believe, is it. That's all I got for tonight's episode. So if you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back tomorrow night as we explore the swamp Monday through Friday and everyone in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, the administration. Also, I'm posting daily on X, which is where you can peek at the content for tomorrow's episode. And don't forget, the video clips from tonight will begin dropping on the channel tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for watching. Always remember to stay positive. God bless the troops, and God bless America.